So we're going to talk about cortisol, which is our friendly hormone but not. So the adrenal glands pump out cortisol when the body's stressed. So cortisol short term is actually a really beneficial hormone. So if you think of it like having a short term burst of cortisone treatment, probably the best example, cortisol, as it should work in the body, is secreted in bursts throughout the day. So it works in conjunction with melatonin. And I'll just do a little chart here for you. So this is cortisol up here. So it should be highest in the morning and then drop throughout the day. And this is why it's so hard to measure in a blood test. I always, if I'm looking for what's really going on with someone's cortisol, I'll do salivary hormone. Because a blood test, unless they're taking blood 4 times throughout the day, you really have no idea what's going on here. Now, cortisol works in conjunction with melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. I should have done this in another colour, but I'm sure you'll get it. So melatonin drops in the morning when you're waking up, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon starts to rise. So this is your sleep, and let's call this your adrenals. So cortisol gets you up in the morning, and then secreted in bursts throughout the day, and starts to drop at 3 p.m. when melatonin starts to kick in. This is all governed by what we call the circadian rhythm, which is your sleep cycle. So for shift workers,
hey? So you should have a nap at 3 o'clock every day.
Not quite, but it's exposure to light that determines what happens with melatonin. So if you've got computers, TVs, fluorescent lighting, this is not going to work as well as what it should. So a lot of people have high cortisol at night, because of the fact that melatonin can't kick in until you actually dim the lights. So insomnia is a problem here as well, because melatonin is your sleep hormone. If you're not secreting melatonin, you're going to have problems sleeping. Problems sleeping, again, leads to fatigue. So this whole cycle needs to be working properly in order for us to have good energy levels as well. The other thing about cortisol is when it's in the body for long periods, the persistent stimulation, that's stage 2, it actually makes your body store fat. So when people are in this place of having low cortisol in the morning, which means you've got to drag yourself out of bed, and wired at night, because this whole thing's going the wrong way around, having your biggest meal at night, when your cortisol's high, you're going to store a lot of fat doing that as well. So it's interesting to know what your cortisol's doing for weight loss principles as well. So this is what cortisol does. Think cortisone medication, short term. So it helps with blood pressure and blood sugar regulation. Like I said, the heart and blood vessels. It affects your carbohydrate, fat and protein metabolism, short term beneficially. It helps control fluid and water regulation through a hormone called aldosterone, and stimulates the central nervous system, increasing mental and physical energy. So that's that burst that you get throughout the day, and if everything's working properly, after meals. Also, unheard of? What's that? Not finding it? Certainly not at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So it also plays a really important role in the immune system. So cortisol deficiency, this is when stage 3, like we talked about, so this is when there's no cortisol. Body's finished, it's exhausted, cannot even elicit a response. This is your chronic fatigue type picture. Your immune system's dysregulated, tired. Like I said, these people find it hard to get out of bed. And like I said, the conditions associated with low cortisol, chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis, and all your sort of autoimmune disorders. Now, I wonder whether this autoimmune picture is because they're generally on long-term corticosteroid medication, and allergies also because the immune system's disrupted. This is kind of a picture of what to look for. So this deficiency being the chronic fatigue picture. There is an adrenal disorder known as Addison's disease, which is the actual end stage of this picture. So it's adrenal depletion, but generally caused by tumours or whatnot. This excess is the high cortisol picture, and that's consistent with another disease known as Cushing's disease, which people get when they're on long-term steroid medication. So yeah, things that we've been over, but interesting to take note of. When people are in this low cortisol place, they crave salt all the time, not sugar. People in this phase, crave sugar, but these people will want salt. This is more associated with low blood pressure. These people get dizzy when they stand up. This is associated with high blood pressure and a lot of cholesterol problems as well. Blood sugar problems, cholesterol problems. Most people sit here in this.